My name is Matt Webb. I'm Head of Enterprise Data Management at UK Power Networks. I have broad responsibility for our data strategy, integrating with our broader digitalisation strategy, everything covering data management, engineering and governance, and the implementation of a range of initiatives corresponding with that across the business. Current smart grid landscape is rapidly evolving, so we are increasingly moving away from traditional vertically integrated energy systems with centralized generation through transmission to distribution, with electricity flowing in one direction. Quite a passive system in reality, with the active management being at the upper levels of the network, and distribution being much more focused traditionally on build, maintain, with a low level of operation focused around responding to faults or planned outages and extensions to the network. As we see increasing amounts of distributed energy resources, so wind farms, solar farms, battery storage, the electrification of vehicles and heat, the dynamics at the lower end of the network are significantly changing, and that requires us to have far greater insight and visibility of what's happening with respect to power flows, utilisation, demand, forecasting that not just in the longer term but also in the far shorter term and near real time, and being able to respond to those dynamics. So digitalisation and data have a really key role to play in having that visibility and that control. And interoperability is a word you hear used a lot, where we've got an increasingly complex ecosystem of stakeholders from other networks, the DER operators themselves, a really large consultancy community that's working in that space. And it goes on, and we effectively have to think about how we make our data as readily accessible, usable and reliable as possible to facilitate that whole ecosystem. So the role data has to play across complex energy ecosystems is ultimately as a communication medium. So where you have this increasing number of stakeholders and players and operators, they need their systems to talk to each other. So as we have within our own organisations, various systems and applications that work at their best, where they can integrate and communicate directly, the same applies as you scale that at a national level. So where we want to optimise the network, where we want to facilitate decarbonisation and contribute to net zero targets, it's really, really important that we achieve that interoperability, that ready communication, so that where we share data, we don't have to sit there trying to understand and interpret it, transform it, and re-engineer it to make it usable. We need to get to a point where individual organisations can readily access, consume and utilise data to expedite communication, operations, and achieve those 1,000 ambitions that have been set out from smart grid and the corresponding drivers that, as I say, ultimately come down to net zero. The key opportunities that a data-enabled smart grid present are far better efficiency and utilisation of our networks. So to ensure resilience and stability, there's a degree of redundancy always built in. So therefore that redundancy results in unused capacity. By having more intelligent and dynamic networks where you have an understanding of prevailing demand and utilisation, it allows you to maximise the use of those assets. So use that headroom and mean that you're not over-investing or over-engineering to give that stability and that resilience that's obviously needed to ensure that we have a continual supply of energy. Corresponding with that is greater efficiency from a carbon point of view and energy consumption point of view. We're not yet at the point where we're fully exploiting distributed energy resources, and storage has a big role to play in this. So by having full visibility control of all those different assets and interoperability, we can make sure that we have the opportunity to really optimize the whole system, not just the energy system, but then you come out into other interdependent systems as well. Having that interoperability across the piece opens up a whole range of opportunities, and I think innovation will really start to flourish and balloon across the whole piece about how we maximise data and digitalisation across infrastructure systems.